All right, so we started at 21. This is a quadratic inequality. So I'm going to factor it to get what we call the critical values. And it's a regular trinomial. There's no GCF. So it's just x times x to get the x squared. And then positive 4 and a positive 2, right? 4 times 2 is 8, and 4 plus 2 is 6, right? So what are my critical values? What makes this 0? Negative 4, and this one? Negative 2, okay? When we graphed these, this was when we made our number line, and we put negative 2, oops, that would be the wrong spot. Negative 4 is to the left of negative 2, right? All right, and then we would put circles because there wasn't an equal to, but we were picking 3 numbers to see which way we go. Remember? Pick a number to the left of negative 4. Pick a number between negative 2 and negative 4. And pick a number to the right. I like to pick 0, whichever section it's in. But if you want to use negative 1, that's okay too. Doesn't matter. Just so you're picking a number in that section. And then just go to the original problem. So negative 5 squared plus 6 times negative 5 plus 8, which would be positive 25 minus 30 plus 8, which is 3, right? So is 3 less than 0? No. So I wouldn't draw an arrow that way. So then I put negative 3 in that spot for x. So that's positive 9, and that's negative 18. 17 minus 8, negative 1. Is that less than 0? Yeah, so I would connect the negative 4 and the negative 2. Usually if the middle works, the ends didn't. But I always check to make sure. Every now and then, maybe one end works in the middle. So I put 0 in. 0 squared plus 6 times 0 is 0. Plus 8 is 8. Is 8 less than 0? No. So it's just that middle. So that's what we did to graph those on the number line. We figured out what our critical values, what the 2 numbers we were going to use on our number line. And then we picked numbers that were in each section into the original problem, if it works. And then we draw the line towards where it works. If it's in the middle like this one, we connect the 2 circles. Remember, if this had an equal to with it, they'd be solid dots. All right? 22. All right, this was those variation problems. Remember, what letters in all of these? K, right? So we have to remember to put K. And it talks about, write an equation expresses the relationship between the variables and use the given data to solve for K. All right, so it's reminding you that K is in there, right? So T varies equals K, and you see the word varies. T equals K, and then the next words tell us if we're going to multiply or divide or whatever we're going to do. Directly means multiply. And the cube of r means r to the 3rd power. Right? Cube means to the 3rd. Square of r would be r to the 2nd power. And inversely was divided. So this has got 2 in it. So and divided by the square root of s. Okay, not s squared, but the square root of s, okay? So there's our little equation from that sentence, okay? It says t equals 12, so we're just substituting in. We're going to solve for k. So t is 12, r is 6, and s is 1600ths, okay? So, I'm going to do both of those problems right now. 6 cubed is 216, and the square root of 0.16 is 0.4. Okay, now if you want, you can divide 0.4 into 216 and get a number. Or you can go 0.4 times 12, move it over. And then divide by 216. It doesn't matter. Either way works. I probably would multiply both sides by 0.4, which would be 4.8. Okay, and then I would divide. That's how I would do it. But if you want just to divide, like I said, 216 by 0.4, get that number and then divide it over. That's okay. I think it was 0.2 or something, 0.02. Where's my, 0.02 repeating. All right, so again, what is it? 4.8 divided by 216. Yeah, 0.02 repeating. If you want to write the fraction, hit math and hit enter twice. 1 over 45. Either way is fine. Okay? Remember those? So you have one of those tomorrow on your exam. All right, distance. This is probably something you might want to put on your card. You know the distance formula. It's x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. And then we take the square root. And then midpoint was a point. It was x1 plus x2 divided by 2 and y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So those are the two formulas for distance and midpoint. So that's something I would write on my, my note card so you have it. Okay. So the distance would be x2 negative 3 minus x1 4 squared. Remember, it's going to be square root then. Plus y2 11 minus y1 7 squared. So that's a negative 7. When I square it, is positive 49. And that's a 4 squared. That's a 16. So it's a square root of what? 65? You want to put 8 point whatever that is, or you can leave it the square root of 8.1. Or if you leave it the square root of 65, that's okay. So that's the distance between the 2 points. And then the midpoint would be 4 plus negative 3 divided by 2, which would be 1/2, right? 4 plus negative 3 is 1. And what's that? 7 plus 11. Oh, that won't be a fraction. 7 plus 11, 18 divided by 2 would be 9. So 1/2, 9 would be the midpoint. Okay? That was not as far back ago, right? That wasn't too long. Yes, sir. So far, so good. All right, x and y intercepts. All right, remember, x-intercept the y is 0. The y-intercept the x is 0. Okay, so we got 5x plus 2y equals 20. So what I do, if I put 0 in for y, it's 2 times 0, that's nothing. So I just kind of cover it up. Don't even worry about it. 5 times what is 20? 4. So the x-intercept is 4. Then I cover up the 5x part, and 2 times what is 20? 10. So that's how I do it. Because I know the y value is 0 when I'm looking for the x-intercept, and I know the x value is 0 when I'm looking for the y-intercept. Okay? So that should be an easy problem for us. Number 25, we have an equation of a circle there. Okay. Remember, the equation was x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. That was what it was. So remember, the center was the hk, and the radius was r, the square root of that. Okay? So I just look at these and take the opposite of those. All right? So the center for this is -2, 5. Just looking at those. And the radius is the square root of 64. Don't forget, it's the square root of that number. Okay? So it'll just be in that form. So that should be an easy problem for you. Again, if you want to write that stuff on your note card, that's fine. We good on that one? You guys remember that circle stuff? We'll all talk at once. Take it easy. You guys are out of control. Especially you, anyway. All right. This is one of those piecewise functions. I couldn't remember the name for a second there. All right. So we're doing f of 3. So what piece does it fit in? Does it fit in the top piece? Is it less or equal to 1? Or does it fit in the bottom piece? Is 3 greater than or equal to, or greater than 1? Which one does 3 fit? Greater than 1, right? The bottom one. So that's what I do. I put -2 times 3. So that's -6 plus 8. So that's 2. So there's one answer. There's 3 answers here. All right. -2. Is -2 less or equal to 1, or is it greater than 1? It's less. So there's the top one. I put -2 in. So I go 3, -2 squared plus 2 times -2 minus 4. So that's a positive 4 times 3 is 12. 2 times -2 is -4. 12 minus 4 is 8. Minus 4 is 4. So f of -2 is 4. And then it's f of 1. So is 1 less or equal to 1 or greater than 1? Less than or equal, right? So it's in the top one. So the one I just did again. Put 1 squared plus 2 times 1 minus 4. 1 squared is 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 1 is 2. 3 plus 2 is 5 minus 4 is 1. So 2, 4, and 1 are the 3 answers. Okay? So whatever number's in the parentheses, put it out here and see which inequality it fits in. All right? And whichever one it fits in, then you go to that function to the left for x and then solve. Okay? So just plugging in, plug and chugging, right? We good on those? We kind of messed up on those, some of us, when we did that quiz. But we won't tomorrow, right? All right. For this one, equation of a line, slope-intercept form, that's y equals mx plus b, right? So m's my slope, and the way to find the slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So you might want to put that on your card, right? That little formula. So to find the slope of this line that goes through the 2 points, y2 is -9 minus y1, -5. x2 is 1 minus x1 is 6. So I got a minus a negative there. Remember, that becomes addition. So -9 plus 5 is a -4. And 1 minus 6 is -5. So 2 negatives make it a positive. So I know m now. Now I got to figure out the b. All right? To figure out the b, I plug one of the points in for x and y. I'm going to pick this one. Doesn't matter which one you pick. Either one's fine. So I put -9 in for y. and 1 in for x, and I figure out what b is then. All right, so negative 9 equals 4/5 times 1 is 4/5. So I'm going to subtract 4/5 over. And that comes out to negative 49/5. Or if you want to put it in your calculator, negative 9 minus 4/5, negative 9.8. Either way is fine with me. You want the decimal or the fraction. So my final answer then for this equation, I got to put that number in for b here. So y equals 4/5 x minus 49/4, or 49/5, sorry. Or, like I said, 4/5 is 0.8. If you want to do the decimal route, you could write 0.8 minus 9.8. Oh, don't forget the x, though. So decimals are fine, too. I don't care. Both work. So find the slope first, so you know what m is. And then substitute it into y equals mx plus b, the m part. And then substitute one of the 2 points, it doesn't matter, in for x and y to solve for b, which is your y-intercept, right? We good on those? That one, I mean? All right, only a few more. All right, here's the same type of problem. This one says perpendicular. Remember, when it's perpendicular, slopes are what? Opposite reciprocals, right? If it said parallel, slopes are what? Same, right? So maybe on the exam, it might say parallel instead of perpendicular. Okay, if this said parallel, I'd use negative 3/4 for my slope. Since it says perpendicular, I'm going to use positive 4/3 for my slope. And I'm going to do the same thing I did on the last problem. I'm going to plug in the point they give me for x and y, and I'm going to figure out what b is. So negative 1 for y, and 2 for x, and 4/3 times 2 is 8/3. So I'm going to subtract it, and that gives me negative 11/3 for b. All right, because negative 1 is negative 3/3. So negative 3/3 minus 8/3, negative 11/3. That's how I got that. Or again, you could do the decimal route, do it in your calculator, no problem with that. So my answer then is y equals 4/3 x, and then instead of b, I know what it is now. Okay. If you do the decimal route, what is this? 4/3 is 1 1/3, and 11/3 is 3 2/3. Okay, so either way is okay, decimal or fractions. Okay, so just pay attention to whether it says perpendicular or parallel tomorrow. Okay, parallel, you use the same slope of the line they give you. Perpendicular, like this one, you're going to use the opposite reciprocal. So it's negative, opposite makes it positive, and then flip it, right? All right. Vertex and axis of symmetry, all right? Well, I always do axis of symmetry first. And that's this little formula. Okay? So negative b. B is negative 4 over 2a, which is a positive 4 over 2. So the axis of symmetry is x equals 2. It's an equation. It's always x equals. And then to find the vertex, my x value is 2. I got to find the y value. To find the y value, I plug 2 into the problem. So 2 squared minus 4 times 2 plus 7. 2 squared is 4, right? Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8, plus 7 is 3, right? So my vertex is 2, 3. All right, those are the two things you would need to do. So use that negative b over 2a formula to find the axis of symmetry. Plug that number into the problem so that you get your 2 point, your x value is whatever x equals on your axis of symmetry, and then your y value is whatever you get then when you plug it in. Okay? And then the last one is from last week's quiz. We got the composition of functions. All right, so remember, you do g of 1 first. All right, so I do g of 1, which is 3 times 1 is 3 minus 1 equals 2. And then I do f of 2 then. That answer I put in. So that would be 2 squared, 4 plus 2 equals 6. So that's the first one. There's 2 of them there, so you got to do them both. All right, so the number 1 is 6. And then this one means I'm taking this, f of x, and I'm putting it in for x in the g one, right? That's what we did last week. Okay, so this is 3, and then put x squared plus 2 in place of the x, and then minus 1. So distribute your 3, and then combine like terms. So there'll be 30 problems, just like on the practice. Get it, an hour and a half to do it. And I'll make them 5 apiece, so it'll be 150 points. It's just a grade by itself, right? It has nothing to do with your 9 weeks grade. It just has to do with your semester grade then, your semester average, okay? I think it counts for the average, 20% of the average, I think. That's how they do it. All right, so you all got A's first 2 9 weeks, right? Oh, maybe not. But you all get A's tomorrow, right?